As spring has sprung, poetry may be something that comes to mind. You will hear so many poems, see pictures of the classics, and maybe hear of a slam session virtually available online. But there is a certain type of poetry that I feel gets slept on sometimes. The novel in verse. Not quite a novel, but not quite a poem. Simply speaking, a novel in verse is exactly what the name implies. A novel that is told in verse rather than prose. It is one of my absolute favorite types of literature. Elizabeth Acevedo's Clap When You Land is a YA novel in verse that plucks at the heartstrings every step of the way and shakes the walls with love and togetherness. The book begins with a plane accident and quickly unravels the heart of two families, yet somehow bonds them forever. A story of tragedy and sisterhood and grief and loss, and most of all forgiveness, Clap When You Land is not for the faint of heart. Count this as your trigger warning. It really does dive into some deeply emotional themes throughout. By alternating the perspectives of two sisters, Camino and Yaharia, Acevedo paints a clear picture of what each of the two are feeling as they experience the death of their father, their everyday lives falling apart, and their lives intertwining all at once. I found myself reading it like it was a regular novel, but then started to really appreciate the poetry once I found myself getting a feel for the rhythm of each page. Acevedo has so many incredible novels, like the award-winning The Poet X, the story of a girl who uses the power of poetry to use her own voice and speak out about her own life. If you pick up The Poet X, don't forget to grab Acevedo's journal made to go with it, Write Yourself a Lantern. This journal is meant for anyone to share their voice and their thoughts and their own poetry if their heart desires. Her other works continue with strong female leads, like With the Fire on High, the beautiful story of a strong young mother fighting to achieve her culinary dreams. If you found these books enticing, or you just really want to express some of those feelings deep inside, other YA novels in verse are Jason Reynolds' Long Way Down and Ellen Hopkins' Closer to Nowhere, and Dean Atta's The Black Flamingo. Hey Sarah, are you reading any poetry this month?
Actually, I've read a couple of novels in verse this month. One of the best things about reading a novel in verse is the emotional connection the reader is able to build with the main character, as we're able to see their innermost thoughts. Since you're placed directly in the character's head, the poetry reads more like a journal than a novel, with verse that's often raw and unbridled. This helps to place the reader in the character's shoes and helps you to really feel their emotions. Candace Elo's debut novel, Everybody Lookin', puts you in the mind of Atta, a first-generation Nigerian American who's struggling to come to terms with her past, her sexuality, and most importantly, who she is as a person, all while navigating her first year of college. For the first time, Atta is given the freedom to explore her values and views on the world without being stifled by her dysfunctional family, and she takes us, the reader, with her on the journey to unlock the deepest parts of herself. Though this novel is at times heartbreaking, it's also uplifting as we experience Atta's self-discovery. Elo also utilizes verse to get across the feeling that Atta feels when she's dancing, the only thing that truly makes her feel known, both by herself and others. The way the poems rise and fall emulate Atta's steps in her dance class and bring a musical quality to the writing. If you found this book enjoyable, be sure to check out Candace Elo's poetry and essays available on her website, becomeher.com. Want more novels in verse? Then you should definitely pick up The Crossover by Kwame Alexander, What My Mother Doesn't Know by Sonia Sones, and Punching the Air by Evie Zaboy and Yusuf Salam. These books can be found as an ebook or audiobook on the Overdrive and Libby apps, as well as our website, www.hcpl.net.
A physical copy can be put on hold online and be picked up curbside at your local library.
And until next time, you know if you need more books.
No shelf required. Go out and pick out a new book today.